I am so happy to be reading this book. You don't know how happy I am. Welcome to the official Lord of the Rings reading vlog. I'm going to be reading the entirety of the Lord of the Rings for the Game of Tomes book club that I host with Carolyn, and so excited. Like, you don't know how excited I am. You know when you put off reading something or watching something for so long because you feel like you're not ready for that amount of feeling? Yeah. This is gonna be a reading vlog for Lord of the Rings. I'm not sure yet if I want to do them book by book or if I just want to smush all three parts into one vlog. I guess we'll see how much footage there ends up being, because I don't know if this is gonna be like 3 hours or an hour or what, but I finally started Fellowship of the Ring today. This is going to be a reread for me, but I haven't read this in so many years and I'm just so excited. Like, I opened it, I got to the first page and I flipped out. I already teared up reading the prologue, which is literally just concerning hobbits. I feel like a synopsis is probably not necessary for the series at all, but I have loved Lord of the Rings for a very, very long time, and it is now time to like actually physically read the whole thing. So as of right now, I am 32 pages in. I've just been sitting down and reading it today. I'm still on chapter 1, which is A Long Expected Party. I will say that it's taken me so long to get through the prologue and parts of chapter 1 because this is not good, and I think this is also part of the reason why I put off actually getting into the entirety of the Lord of the Rings book for so long, because I'm the kind of person who wants to know everything there is to know about a fantasy world, and with Tolkien that is probably impossible unless you dedicate your life to studying his works. And so I just keep falling down numerous rabbit holes on the internet, on Lord of the Rings wiki, because I just want to know everything. Like, if he mentions something, I'm like, oh my god, wait, what is that? And with Tolkien, like, I don't have the time to do this. I can't be doing this right now. And it's just like one thing leads to another, which leads to another, which just keeps going forever and ever, because the amount of work, the amount that he expanded this world is just absolutely insane. And I'm just like, wait, but I want to know what the elves know about the Dunedain, but then I want to know what the hobbits know about that, and then I want to know where Aragorn's descendants came from, and then I want to know what are the Valors, and then I'm like, well, where is this place? Who are these gods that we're talking about? They're obviously not in the age that it's just like circles. You go in circles and you can like really fall into it for forever. And so the challenge becomes for me just like let it go and just enjoy the actual story now that we're in it, because like the prologue does read very much like a history text, which I just really enjoy, and I know that like if I actually let myself get really into Tolkien, it would take up so much of my time. Anyway, chapter 1, A Long Expected Party. It's just so sweet. It's just so sweet. Like, of course the story opens in the Shire in Hobbiton. I just love it. I just love it. I've been listening to the soundtrack while I've been reading, and it's just like truly peace. I called Carolyn yesterday and she is just obsessed with it. This is her first time reading it, and it's just so good. I'm just at the part now where Bilbo is kind of refusing to give up his ring when Gandalf has come to see him after the party, after he's disappeared from the party, and Bilbo's like, on second thought, why shouldn't I? Don't you want to leave it behind? Well, yes and no. It's so creepy. It's so creepy. When I was younger watching the films, Bilbo creeped me the hell out, especially that one scene in Rivendell, if you know, which, oh god, just traumatizing. I'm excited to keep reading. I'm so happy to be reading this. So only 32 pages through, but I'm also very thrilled to be starting this reading vlog. Have you ever wanted to learn the skills of one of the Lord of the Rings characters? You know, you're reading the book and you're like, I want to know how to do that. Maybe like me, Samwise Gamgee is your role model and you want to learn how to garden like him, but you don't know where to start. There's a class on Skillshare who is really kindly sponsoring this video, thank you so much, called Home Gardening, an Oasis in a Small Space. And it is perfect if you want to get into growing plants, whether that's flowers, ornamental plants, or if you want to grow, for example, your own food and herbs. I just bought a basil plant and I haven't grown herbs in a really long time, so this was a good refresh. This class is taught by Ekta Chaudhary and it is so nice. It's so calming as well. Skillshare has such a wide variety of categories of classes that you can learn, ranging from creative writing to videography to journaling to language classes. They truly have something for everyone. It's a great way to learn at your own pace. It's a great way to acquire new skills on the side. So if you guys are interested, the first 500 people to click on my link below will get a 30-day free trial to Skillshare. Happy planting. Okay. Gather round, my friends. Okay, so it is day 2 of the Lord of the Rings vlog, and I was honestly not expecting to be coming at you with such a huge reading update, because for the past 24 hours, I've seriously just pretty much been look at how much I got through in like a day. Consuming my life. It's consuming my life, and I've been reading this for 1 day. So this is great. I don't want it to end, and literally every single thought in my head is bent towards Lord of the Rings. I did not enjoy it this much the first time around for sure. Now that my frontal cortex has developed. Wow, did it develop just so I could read Lord of the Rings? It might have done. Okay, so let me tell you about my tabbing, annotating schema, I guess, or legend right now, because it keeps changing a little bit. Typically, I have a few things that I know I want to look at, especially if I'm rereading a book, but with the fellowship, I've just been adding in things. Obviously, the green one is for nature, the dark green one, because Tolkien talks so much. First of all, there's just so much nature description. Oh my god, there's so much. Maybe sometimes not like too much, but anyway. But there's a lot in here about honestly like advocating for the land, and especially now the part I'm at, which is Tom Bombadil. First of all, who the F is Tom Bombadil? Who does he think he is? Who is he? What the actual heck? We're gonna get there. But yeah, so green is just for nature. It's pretty basic. I did this darker color for trauma, okay? Because so much about Lord of the Rings it's just a journey, a quest into very dark times. Frodo, of course, is going to be the main person that I want to look at this with, because the ring affects him in deep, profound ways, and so much of it you can take as symbolic for mental health or physical health or for deep, dark, traumatic experiences. So there's been a lot about that, and there's going to be even more as we go on. And then light pink I've just been using for beautiful quotes like this one. I wish it need not have happened in my time, said Frodo. So do I, said Gandalf, and so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. This is the thing that I think I was trying to talk about yesterday, that like when you feel this much like just emotion and like it's just like the feeling in your chest towards a piece of media, my response, I don't know why, is to turn away from it. It's why, for example, I have not continued on with Sailor Moon, the manga. I haven't continued on with Sailor Moon manga or anime because it's just like it's too much. It's why I haven't reread favorites like Cloud Atlas or Phantom of the Opera in so long. It's why I haven't returned to Rilke in so long. It's just like so much and it's all consuming. Sidebar, but Kelsfer is asking for his bugs. Or that's what I call them, they're his bugs. Yeah, because it's that time of year again when like swarms of gnats come and rest on the window screens and the door screens, and when I open them he will just spend all day punching the bugs and trying to get the bugs, and it's his favorite pastime. And when the door is not open, he will ask for it, and he'll start very politely, but eventually he'll just start screaming. Right, Cal? Do you want your bugs? Okay, you just have to wait. I just want to talk a little bit more about this. Finishing up the tabbing thing, the other one that I put in, that I added this darkish, what color would you really say this is? Dark bluey color. I don't know, the tabs that I'm using, they're all honestly kind of the same. Like a lot of them are very close together, but I added a tab specifically for Frodo and Sam's relationship, which is like the greatest love story in Lord of the Rings. It is just so beautiful. Oh my god. It's going to be very dangerous, Sam. It's already dangerous. Most likely neither of us will come back. If you don't come back, sir, then I shan't, that's certain, said Sam. Don't you leave him, they said to me. Leave him, I said. I never mean to. I am going with him if he climbs to the moon. And if any of those Black Riders try to stop him, they'll have Sam Gamgee to reckon with, I said. Anyway, okay, so this is 5 stars. And then the last one I added in is this lighter blue tab, which is just like gonna be all about the journey. There's so much in here about obviously the journey, because this is the quintessential, well, maybe it's not that quintessential hero's journey, but anyway, it's so good. I don't remember what part I left you off at. Bilbo's birthday happens, which is also on the same day as Frodo's birthday. Bilbo disappears. We know this. He goes off, fucks off to live with the elves. He goes to see mountains again. Good for him, living my dream life. And then Gandalf finally comes back and he's like, yo, we have a problem. Because that ring you have on your mantelpiece, it is the one ring to rule them all. I think I was saying yesterday how I was getting a little bit too far into the rabbit hole of just like everything, and now I obviously just really want to read the Silmarillion and blah blah blah. It's like really weird me knowing who and what Gandalf is now, along with a bunch of other characters in this novel, except for goddamn Tom Bombadil. Who the hell is he? Gandalf tells Frodo about Gollum or Smeagol, and he's like, yeah, Smeagol, like he blabbed on you. It's over for you. Like he's coming to get you. They're coming to get you. But it's just so beautiful, and like I think the book is maybe making Gollum a little bit more of a sympathetic character, even though the films do as well, of course. But Gandalf says there was a little corner of his mind that was still his own, even when the ring had possessed him, and light came through it, as through a chink in the dark, light out of the past. It was actually pleasant, I think, to hear a kindly voice again, bringing up memories of wind and trees and sun on the grass. Soon, Cal, soon. Yes. That, of course, would only make the evil part of him angrier in the end, unless it could be conquered, unless it could be cured. He hated the dark, and he hated light more. He hated everything, and the ring most of all. I feel so bad for him. I feel so bad for him. My heart tells me that he has some part to play yet. Meanwhile, Frodo's over here being like, end his life, cut his throat. So it's just the way that Frodo is immediate, like, you know what? I'm gonna do what needs to be done. Someone's gotta do it. In the book, it's Frodo, Sam, and Pippin, and they set off for Crick Hollow, which is this place where Frodo has bought a new house because he's trying to convince people in the Shire that like he's not going away on a secret dangerous mission. He's just moving downstream back to the Bucklands. So that is where he's going, but he's of course obviously secretly making for Buckleberry Ferry, which is such a fun name to say. Frodo, Sam, and Pippin. Mary is already waiting at the house for them, along with another hobbit who's not in the films, but his name is Fatty. Is that really his full name? I don't know. Fatty Bolger. He's kicked out of the film, which like he doesn't really, well, he plays a part in the novel. We'll get there. But for now, it's just kind of nice. I want to say that like it is very slow moving, it is very meandering, but I don't give a single crap. I think when I first read The Lord of the Rings years ago, I was a little bit bored, honestly, because I thought it was very slow moving, and like Tolkien does spend a great deal of time describing the literal path that is being taken on the literal journey. Like I can't count how many times this man has been like, oh, it sloped up, it sloped down, it sloped back up, we went over a hill, there were trees. Like it's just incredibly descriptive all of the time about the actual road that is being taken. So like I feel like someone could actually plot pretty specifically to a T the terrain and like the kind of path that Frodo simply walks into Mordor on. It's just nice because they're just out here bopping, humming, singing. Frodo says that Bilbo often used to say that there was only one road, that it was like a great river. Its springs were at every doorstep, and every path was its tributary. It's a dangerous business, Frodo, going out your door, he used to say. You step into the road, and if you don't keep your feet, there's no knowing where you might be swept off to. And then obviously the ring wraiths start showing up, and they don't really know who the ring wraiths are. But in the novel, the ring wraiths, like, yeah, they sniff. They do this like weird sniffing thing where they sniff the air, because I think they're blind, right? The ring wraiths are blind, but they also crawl. They also like crawl around on all fours, like Voldemort in the forest and Harry Potter in the first movie. They crawl, which is so funny to me. It's not very dignified, is it? I didn't know, because obviously the song is in The Two Towers, the song that Pippin sings to, oh, what's his face? Greasy hair man. I don't know, Faramir's father. The song is actually quite a merry song. You know, it's Home is Behind, the World Ahead, that one. And there are many paths to tread. But it actually ends quite happily. Then world behind and home ahead will wander back to home and bed. Fire and lamp and meat and bread, and then to bed and then to bed. But I guess that would have not been very dramatic to sing while like Faramir is rushing into a massacre. It's also just funny. Like, it's so funny because like things are quite serious, but like they're singing when they get like braver, but then the ring wraith literally hears them singing and is like, what the hell am I hearing? They eventually get to Crick Hollow. They leave Fatty Bolger behind in Frodo's new home, because he doesn't want to go on the adventure, which is fair, but he's supposed to stay in the house and like pretend to be Frodo, so they leave Frodo's clothes behind for Fatty to wear, and obviously that's not going to end well, because there's ring wraiths about looking for Frodo, so I'm imagining Fatty has been slaughtered already. It's just the fact that like Farmer Maggot calls the ring wraith a funny customer. Like, he's just a funny customer. And then meanwhile Pippin is behind being like, hey, Frodo, did you ask the elves about the sniffing that the ring wraiths do? And Frodo's like, we didn't discuss it. Off on the main adventure now with Merry, Pippin, Frodo, and Sam. And they get a little bit lost in the Old Forest, which is not mentioned really in the film. And of course they stumble into Tom Bombadil's realm, which is also cut out of the film, so which like I understand. But hello, who is Tom Bombadil? And what is he doing? And why can he do what he does? So Tom Bombadil is just like old. He's just ancient. And the number one thing, I don't know, I mean, everyone has theories about who he is and what he is. But for me, he seems to just be like being. He is just kind of the earth. Most importantly, the ring literally doesn't affect him. And it also has no effect upon him, because they stay in Tom Bombadil's house for a little while with him and his wife Goldberry, who's like this river daughter. I'm pretty sure she's literally a river turned into a person or taking on a human form. And one night he's like, Frodo, let me see the ring. Like, just let me see the ring. And Frodo just straight up gives it to him. So it's almost like Tom Bombadil exercises more compulsion on Frodo than the ring does, which is crazy because the ring is obviously the thing that exerts the most influence over people generally. So the fact that he just willingly gives it up to Tom. He suddenly put it to his eye and laughed. Who laughs in the face of Sauron? For a second, the hobbits had a vision, both comical and alarming, of his bright blue eye gleaming through a circle of gold. Then Tom put the ring round the end of his little finger and held it up to the candlelight. For a moment, the hobbits noticed nothing strange about this. Then they gasped. There was no sign of Tom disappearing. Who is he? If the ring doesn't affect him, afterwards Frodo puts it on because he's like, oh, I want to put my ring on. How dare this man put it on? And Tom can see him. Like, he can't be made invisible by the ring, but he can also see other mere mortals who have been made invisible by the ring as well. And like it has no, or it seems to have no power over him. Like, he doesn't want the ring for himself. It doesn't make him into a worse person. He gives it back to Frodo without a fuss. It's just like, who is this man? Who is this man? And when Frodo asks his wife Goldberry, who is Tom Bombadil? She just says, he is. He's just like pure being, pure consciousness, the light, the heart of the world. I don't really know. And he's like above everyone's affairs. He's older than the whole world. He knows everything. He says he's been on, or I guess on Middle Earth. Was it necessarily Middle Earth? Before the elves even came. When I first read The Fellowship, I honestly thought the Tom Bombadil section dragged on forever and I was so ready to be out of it. And now I'm like, who is this guy who's just happy-go-lucky, living in the forest, laughing at the One Ring. Hoomst! Anyway, I am on chapter 8, which is 136 pages through. I honestly did not expect to get this far through the book in a day, but I have been doing nothing about reading this book. Like, it's so good. I don't want it to be over. I literally keep going back and like rereading sections, and the amount of like stuff that I've been looking up while reading the book is a little crazy, and I'm really sad with each page that I turn because I don't want it to be over, and the fact that like I'm getting through it this quickly, I just honestly don't want to be, but at the same time I can do nothing but read it. So yeah, that is my Lord of the Rings update. It's going so well. I'm probably just gonna be reading a lot more of this tonight, so I think I'm at the part now, chapter 8, Fog on the Barrow Downs, where they leave Tom Bombadil finally. And I don't know if he ever shows up again in the trilogy. If anyone knows who he is, I don't think it's ever explained anywhere because I searched it up online yesterday, but yeah, that's where I am. It's been so long since I've updated you. I am literally bouncing in my chair. I went home and I read a lot of this just out in nature, out in the grass, out in the trees, which let me tell you is 100% the way to read Lord of the Rings. So I feel like every time I pick this up now, I kind of want to do it when I'm like outside or something. But, oh, okay. Grendel's here, my little ring wraith. Wraith was actually a name that I was kind of thinking of for Grendel. I have so much to tell you. I am 274 pages through. As you can see, the tabbing has gone off. I am just thoroughly enjoying this. Where were we? I think I was screaming about who the hell does Tom Bombadil think he is. We have, I think, is this maybe our first formal mention of my husband? It's from Tom Bombadil. Few now remember them talking about the Rangers or the men of Westerness. Yet still some go wandering, sons of forgotten kings, walking in loneliness, guarding from evil things folk that are heedless. There's so much foreshadowing about Aragorn and about the kings, the lost kings. I have created a tab, I don't know if I mentioned this, just purely for Sam and Frodo. This is a love story. It is a love story. I feel like Lord of the Rings at its core is just about love. This was not in the film. I didn't know Sam was over here throwing apples in people's faces. I love that, even more so because it is Bill Ferny, and in the film, the pony that they take along with them that Sam is in charge of before they let him go at the Mines of Moria is named Bill, who had a very abusive owner named Bill. Bill also wants to like sell out the hobbits when they get to Bree, because now we're in Bree. We're learning about maybe where Gandalf went, maybe not. And obviously we meet Strider for the first time. Sam throws an apple in Bill Ferny's face. And you, Ferny, put your ugly face out of sight or it will get hurt. With a sudden flick, quick as lightning, an apple left his hand and hit Bill square on the nose. Waste of a good apple, said Sam regretfully. We meet Aragorn, and then we get going, and we're on the road again to Rivendell. We obviously have Frodo getting stabbed, and Sam is over here singing songs. He sings a song about trolls, because they pass the stone trolls from Bilbo's time, which returned to stone in the sun on Bilbo's journey. And Sam like makes up this whole song about the trolls. And then Pippin's like, where did you come by that? I've never heard those words before. Sam muttered something inaudible. It's out of his own head, of course, said Frodo. I am learning a lot about Sam Gamgee on this journey. First he was a conspirator, now he's a jester. He'll end up by becoming a wizard or a warrior. I hope not, said Sam. I don't want to be neither. Frodo is just making me so emo. I've been using a lot of like the darker red tabs because this is just like the trauma, the journey, the pain, the deep suffering that Frodo goes through. We get to Rivendell, they find Gandalf. He's back. Obviously he's been detained. I'm not really gonna go into, like, I already know everything that happens, like obviously the most important bits. Frodo's like, so far my only thought has been to get here, and I hope I shan't have to go any further. It is very pleasant just to rest. I have had a month of exile and adventure, and I find that has been as much as I want. The color had come back to his face. He was fully awake and aware he was smiling, but to the wizard's eye there was a faint change, just a hint, as it were, of transparency about him, and especially about the left hand that lay outside the coverlet, because he was stabbed in his left. Still, that must be expected, said Gandalf to himself. He was not half through yet, and to what he will come in the end, not even Elrond can foretell. Not to evil, I think. He may become like a glass filled with a clear light for eyes to see that can. Also, something that I never really considered before, because obviously it's called like the Lord of the Rings, meaning Sauron. Pippin, when he sees Frodo again, is like, oh, here's our noble cousin. Make way for Frodo, Lord of the Ring. And then Gandalf is like, hush. Evil things do not come into this valley, but all the same we should not name them. The Lord of the Ring is not Frodo, but the master of the Dark Tower of Mordor, whose power is again stretching out over the world. But like maybe the Lord of the Ring, I just feel like the Lord of the Ring is maybe precisely Frodo. But Gandalf is like, we're sitting in a fortress outside, it is getting dark and the Mordor is approaching, and Pippin is like, Gandalf has been saying many cheerful things like that. It's so funny. I love how sassy Gandalf is. I love how sassy Bilbo is, because obviously we meet Bilbo again in Rivendell because he's been staying with the elves. So fun. The Rivendell chapters, I think so far Many Meetings and the Council of Elrond have been my favorite chapters, rather than, I mean, obviously when we're in the Shire, yeah. But I'm loving the Rivendell chapters, and I don't want them to end. We also have the scene that for me in the film was the most traumatizing. I don't know if you know which one it is, but like watching it as like, I don't know how old I was, maybe like 10, 11, 12, watching the films for the first time, none of it really freaked me out except for that one scene where they're in Rivendell and Bilbo is talking to Frodo, and Bilbo's like, hey, you know what? I kind of want to see my ring just one last time before it goes on, or whatever's going to happen. I just want to see it, Frodo. Just let me see the ring. And Frodo's like, okay, like, sure. He's not happy about it. Slowly he drew it out, Bilbo put out his hand, but Frodo quickly drew back the ring. To his distress and amazement, he found that he was no longer looking at Bilbo. Like, it's so scary because it's kind of a jump scare in the film as well, like the transformation that overtakes Bilbo. Frightening, like deeply traumatizing. I still can't watch that scene. Like, I still close my eyes. It just freaks me out so bad, the change that comes over Bilbo, and he like grabs for the ring. A shadow seemed to have fallen between them, and through it he found himself eyeing a little wrinkled creature with a hungry face and bony, groping hands. But then Bilbo's like, put it away. I am sorry. Sorry you have come in for this burden. Sorry about everything. Don't adventures ever have an end? I suppose not. Someone else always has to carry on the story. We have the council and we meet everyone. Gloin is back, his son Gimli is there, we meet Legolas, we meet Boromir. And they do actually bring up Bombadil, which they don't do in the film because obviously Bombadil isn't in the film to begin with, but they're like, well, why don't we just give the ring to Tom? Some of the elves are like, oh, it seems that he has a power even over the ring, but Gandalf is like, no, say rather that the ring has no power over him. He is his own master, but he cannot alter the ring itself nor break its power over others, and now he is withdrawn into a little land within bounds that he has set, though none can see them, waiting perhaps for a change of days, and he will not step beyond them. So they're like, nah, like, we can't give it to him because he's just gonna forget about it. He's kind of doing his own thing. And then we have this scene that like I cried a little bit because everyone's like, well, what the hell are we gonna do with the ring? Like, what can we do with it? We can't. Someone's like, throw it in the sea, and Gandalf's like, no. Eventually the conclusion has come to that obviously it has to be destroyed. Like, it has to go back to Mount Doom and be cast into the fires to unmake it. And everyone's like, well, who the hell is gonna take the ring? And they all start bickering. No one answered. The noon bell rang, still no one spoke. Frodo glanced at all the faces, but they were not turned to him. All the council sat with downcast eyes as if in deep thought. A great dread fell upon him, as if he was awaiting the pronouncement of some doom that he had long foreseen and vainly hoped might after all never be spoken. An overwhelming longing to rest and remain at peace by Bilbo's side in Rivendell filled all his heart. At last, with an effort, he spoke, and wondered to hear his own words, as if some other will was using his small voice. I will take the ring, he said, though I do not know the way. I will take the ring to Mordor, though I do not know the way. And obviously at that point, Sam bursts in and he's like, no, you can't go alone. We hobbits ought to stick together, and we will. I shall go, said Pippin, unless they chain me up. There must be someone with intelligence in the party. Then you certainly will not be chosen, Peregrine Toot, said Gandalf. So yeah, that's where I am. I'm on The Ring Goes South. I haven't wanted to read anymore before I updated you, and now I've blabbed on for so long, but just having literally the best time of my life. Didn't really love, like, when I watched the films all the time after the Fellowship splits, like, I really just wanted the films to stay with Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. Like, those are my favorite parts of the film. I think that trio is just like wonderful to watch, and I would always just be a little bit like when the perspective would switch back to Sam and Frodo and their journey, especially when they bring Gollum along. But I think from like just a philosophical, conceptual standpoint, their journey is the one that I am more interested in, even though it might be just like more dull and boring to see played out on the page and on screen, because so much of it is an internal struggle. But I just, yeah, I really love Frodo. Really love Frodo. I just love everyone. Like, every single character in the novel is just wonderful. It's just going so well. I'm gonna keep reading. I'm gonna finish this really soon.